you. Not enough shelters and hard to access. Just some of the information in a new audit released by the city of Portland that focuses on Portland and Multnomah County's Joint Office of Homeless Services.
New at 8, Fox 12 investigative reporter Adrian Thomas gives us more context on what this new audit means in the city's fight against homelessness.
Multnomah County's 2023 point-in-time count found nearly 6,300 people experiencing homelessness on a given night. About 4,000 of them living unsheltered. This new audit of the Joint Office of Homeless Services from the Portland City Auditor says the shelter system needs major improvements to keep up with demand. Now, the city's audit of the Joint Office says shelters are generally full and have long wait lists, are difficult to access for those living on the streets, and the audit found there were more shelter exits to homelessness than to permanent housing. Auditors also found wait times to get into shelters were anywhere from 1 to 6 months, and shelter providers for adults had wait lists of 20 to 100 people per site. The audit also found that in the 2023 fiscal year, only 25% of people who left shelters actually transitioned to housing, a little over 1,100 people. In response to the audit, Joint Office and Multnomah County officials referred to the Homeless Response Action Plan released in March by the Multnomah County Chair and Portland Mayor. Highlights of the plan include sheltering or housing nearly 2,700 additional people and adding 1,000 additional shelter beds in 2 years, with 555 of those new beds ready to go by the end of this year for adults and couples. The Joint Office also says in response to the issue of making shelter access easier, it's developing a tool to better identify shelter availability. Officials with the city of Portland say the city currently operates about 576 shelter units, and the latest data from the Joint Office website says that office funds shelter capacity for about 1,990 people. If that's compared to Multnomah County's latest point-in-time count, showing several thousand people experiencing unsheltered homelessness, shelter supply is falling far below demand. In studio, Adrian Thomas, Fox 12 Oregon.